No, I mean the cloth.
Oh, God. We are recording.
Recording. Awesome.
How you been?
So, yeah, good. At this very moment, I'm done in. I think I said last week I was done in at the start, actually, I'm done in this week. Another thing I think I said last week also, that we don't say I'm bored in the house. We don't allow that. We don't allow saying I'm tired in the house as well. And you'll get to understand that when you have kids, especially 3 of them at different ages, or any age, I suppose. You're not allowed to say tired anymore because you just are. You know, where once you subscribe to that, you are just tired forever, I think. So
I guess it's also just a mute point, isn't it? To just say it because, like, duh. Like, what else are you going to be?
Exactly. But I feel right at this very second, I feel physically drained because I've just finished another workout. The classes this week and last week were quite high energy, intense ones, not so much technical, fitness based and everything else. And I'm just going into sessions fatigued, so it takes it out of me a bit more. But all in all, I'm in good spirits, good place this week. You?
I'm in good spirits for sure. I've turned a corner from last week to this week. I've been in a consistently good place every day, because that's what I was telling you. I was feeling different every day. Some days were good and some days were just really bad. But this last week, I've been consistently in a good place, and I've made a few adjustments, and I think that's really sorted stuff out. It's really trying to find the schedule. It's trying to work out how you're going to place out your day, I think, to manage your energy best, because otherwise you just go off the rails with this stuff.
Yeah, I relate to that, actually. I hadn't even really thought about it, but now that you've said it, I've definitely been more balanced this week since we last spoke, 100%. Today started a bit strange and different because I got up with no agenda until classes at 3 o'clock. And then, like, Lauren got up earlier with the little one, which she kindly quite often does. And she was a bit like, oh, well, are you going to lay in bed? And I don't think we both were sailing in the same direction straight away, but it only lasted a moment, and then we got on with it, and the day's been fine. You said you made a few adjustments.
I figured out that there's 2 versions of my day. It's like, Rick and Morty parallel universes. This is one of my parallel universes, and it all depends on whether or not I shower first thing in the morning. So productive me is someone who gets up and before anything else, he has a shower. And then there's this other guy who, instead of that, he has his coffee, he has his breakfast, and before you know it, I'm not being productive. I'm doing things, but I'm being a busybody. I'm just getting rubbish done that doesn't really serve any real purpose. But for some reason, if I have my shower and I put on some actual clothes, like, I've thought about it, and then I go have my coffee, I just seem to go in a complete different direction. And this week, I've just made a real point of, before I've turned the kettle on, before I sit down at my desk, I just go and have my shower. And that seems to be the big thing. And I don't know what it is. It's just something just tells me, right, well, we're going now if we've done that. I don't know if you can relate to that.
Again, I would say I relate in a sense of I think I showed, like, we've got a very time scheduled week usually, not in a sort of, well, I suppose a bit geeky, but sort of anal way. It's just I feel like I've accomplished if I stick. I just know if I stick to the things that I've got planned out, I get everything done within a framework. We might not be, the to-do list is always going, but myself, like, I don't like getting up in the morning. I've never liked getting up in the morning, and anything before 10 o'clock is the morning as far as I'm concerned. Do I get to lay in till 10 o'clock? No, it doesn't happen. Very rarely. Once a week, Lauren and I, we share a laying day. So she has a laying day, I have a laying day. So very rarely, once a week, I get to lay until 10. But it's not like a daily thing as one did when they were like a teenager or whatever else. Getting dressed and showering isn't high on my priorities. I think as a routine, your upkeep, your cleanliness and that routine would be later in the day as such. So I would always shower that after training. Obviously, if I stink or that, I'll shower in the morning as well. But we had a delivery today. We had a load of new kettlebells arrive for the dojo. We're just starting to get a few things, take a few opportunities where we're seeing things cheap and that in the current climate to give something back to the students. So when they come back, and that arrived, and we had to check it all to make sure everything was there. And I'm quite happy in my dressing gown doing that. I don't need to be suited and booted. And but what I do have to do is eat. If I don't eat, then the day doesn't become productive because I don't think I'm fueled. So I can quite easily just get up, wake up, and just emails and, like you say, do stuff. But then I'll quite easily go till midday, 1, 2 o'clock and not eat because I've got an ability just to switch off that hunger thing. I don't need to eat. I can just deal with it. But yeah, I suppose that's the thing. Cece, actually going off on a little tangent, Cece, I said about just like wearing a dressing gown. Cece was saying the other day about the neighbour who slightly older, not elderly, just older, was washing the car in like a suit, like in a shirt and usual like shoes.
Okay.
She was like, why do some older people wear clothes like that? They don't have like lounge gear or joggers or that kind of thing. Have you ever noticed or seen that?
My granddad is one of those types. So my granddad, he wears a shirt every day. And regardless of what he's doing, he might be doing DIY all day, but he will put on a pair of trousers with a belt, with some shoes. They won't be his like best shoes, but they'll be a pair of dress shoes and a shirt. And depending on his mood, a waistcoat, a cardigan, sometimes even a tie. He's just always dressed like that. And I don't know if it's just he just came from that. I think it is an era thing, isn't it?
That's what I said to Cece. I said,
got dressed, got on with the day.
I don't think there was joggers back then. There definitely wasn't leggings. There definitely wasn't trainers and that kind of thing. So I think even today, even though they're accessible to those things, it's not what you wear kind of thing. It's
it's what you're used to, isn't it? I'm sure we'll have it. I'm sure we already do if we really think about it. Stuff that people wear now, and you're just like, I'm not wearing that. I'll stick to my whatever it is that's normal for us now and isn't so normal. For the
headphones. Who would wear a big bulky pair of headphones with a cable and all of that now?
Well, yeah, but you're hip for that. You're like a hipster. So that's like the funky thing to wear, but it's like wearing it as a fashion statement these days for people, whereas it just used to be that's what a headphone was beforehand. Same as like I saw someone a little while ago, they had a CD Walkman. You see that, and you have like cassette Walkmans every now and then, and it's just a real hipster thing to do at the minute. There's no practical reason to have a CD Walkman anymore, but there you go.
Well, if you've got a catalogue of tunes that way, then maybe. Third podcast in now, where we had comments on our last one. Did you see on
I
did
YouTube? Not see.
Yeah, there's comments. Just praise it was. I think people finding it useful. I don't know if it was just one of those troll ones or something, but
we'll take it. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll take it. So if anyone's watching these and they're enjoying them or getting something from it, do comment because it inspires us and it moves us along, doesn't it?
Well, I had a quick chat with my mum the other day who saw it on Facebook. Saw episode 1 on Facebook, and this was her response. What's that thing with you and Jacey where you don't like people? And I was like, did you watch it? She goes, no, I don't watch stuff like that. And I was like, well, then you can't comment on it. You can't. And she goes, I don't like stuff like that. And I go, well, if you watched it, Jay actually says that if you don't like stuff like that, this isn't the podcast for you. So, people are paying attention at least.
Oh, good. I suppose it's getting out there and people will come to it, won't they?
Oh, mate, there are podcasts for everything and anything. So I'm sure we'll find our niche because there's a podcast for everybody. So.
Yeah. So if you're listening, let us know that you're listening. Let us know you're listening. Right. Should I go first or are you going first? As I've got some
after you. Go on. Take the lead.
A few things. I think because I think a lot of people are reflecting at the moment on their life. I think everything's slowed down to such a pace now. People are having a look at their life and realizing they don't need that in their life, or maybe questioning, finances and everything else. Is there anything that you would want to change going forward or right now, for instance, something silly or something big? Like, for instance, I want to change. I've just realized I've got a habit of saying, wait a minute. So like the girls will come over, it might be something silly like Poppy wants her iPad unlocked or something like that, and she'll say, I can do that. And I've got this habit that I don't like of saying, wait a minute, because I'm always constantly doing something. So I'm trying to now making sure that, because otherwise I think the kids will then see me as always, wait a minute, they're not the priority. So I've made a point of, unless it's like I've got hot tongs in my hand or something, it'll be like, or I explain why they have to wait. I'll be like, stay there a second, not, do you get what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm consciously wanting to change that, just as like as a little habit. But yeah, coming out of this for you, anything?
Yeah, quite a lot of stuff generally. I've done a lot of reflecting in this time. I guess it is because you do find pockets of space that you didn't have before, or just more headspace recently. I guess where we're not on the treadmill in the same way that we were before. We're still doing things, we're still being productive, we're keeping busy, but there is a sense of stepping off the treadmill. So I have had more time to reflect. And one thing I've found is that I want to be more creative, because I've really felt that I haven't done anything creative for quite a long time. We've been very productive and business has been good, and life is going well. But recently I've been trying to, we're doing the podcast, and I've been trying to do some stuff on YouTube, and I've been doing some other bits. Anne's got into drawing recently, and it's really like we've just sparked the creative side of ourselves again. I didn't realize that it was a bit starved.
Create children. You want to create children. This is it. Natural. You got married and you just want to create. What do I need? Not children. I've learned to draw by numbers.
That's a bit of a jump. I feel like we're skipping a few steps. Well, yeah, there we go. So I want to make babies, apparently, and you want to stop saying busy.
See, put the title as wants to make babies. Pushes it.
I think, what's that called? Clickbait. I think that's clickbait.
Okay. What would your mum say, do you reckon?
Oh, she's well up for it. Yeah. This is going off on a bit of a tangent, but it's well worth it. For years and years, my mum's line to me was, you're young, you've got loads of time. And this was the answer to everything. So start your own business, get married, have kids. Anytime I'd mention anything of the sort, she's like, you're so young, you got so much time. And then I think it was 27 or 28, it just switched. She's like, when are you getting married? When are you going to start thinking about having kids? Oh, and you're like, wow, that just changed overnight. I'm not young anymore. The late 20s, it's done. So yeah, that was a thing. That was a strange thing. Anyway, yes. One thing I'd change is trying to make more time for things that are creative, because I think previously they were seen as they're not productive, so therefore they're a waste of time. So you wouldn't make time for it. You'd always push it back because it was something that's not going to, move the needle on certain stuff. But it's food for the soul in the same way that our conversations are. It feeds something in you that otherwise, or in me anyway, that otherwise just seems to starve.
Creative in a sense to have purpose to it, i.e. to sell it, or to get engagement from it, or on just a personal level of just enjoyment?
I think it's the enjoyment one, because I think otherwise I do that. We're always, creating new things, even as simple as like lesson plans and all the rest of it. There's an element of creativity to it, martial arts, it's in the name. But yeah, I think doing something without the need for it to be super productive, without the end goal to be, it's going to make you some money or something like that. I don't know what it is, but like it to be more of a hobby and less of a project, a work. And like not all the time, I don't want to spend my whole day doing it, but there is something about it where I'm like, yeah, I want to just do something because I want to do it and not because I feel like I need to do it, or it's going to
be the best at it, or anything like that.
Yeah. Just something to have a bit of fun outside of the scope of the normal stuff.
Yeah, Cece does horse riding, and one thing we've made sure, because we're very competitive as a family and everything else, so it's like if we do something, not just to the point of excellence that you want to do it as it should be done, but you want to be beating everyone else at doing it. The horse riding, we've not allowed to go there. We've not. If she wanted to, if she said, "Oh, I want to do competitions and all of that," and she's had the opportunity, but we haven't pushed it, that's a better word, that way, because we wanted to always keep it as just a hobby, as something that she just enjoys doing. So what have you got in mind, or you not found it yet?
It can be a bunch of stuff, because I play a bit of guitar, I like a bit of video editing, I like a bunch of things, and I just want to make sure I make some time for them here and there. And that's the thing, I don't want it to be anything dead specific where I'm like, I'm going to do that, because then it's going to become a project. It's going to become I'm gonna do this, and I'm going to get it here, and then I'm going to do this with it. I just want to, dip in and out of things without overly committing and trying to make it into something bigger than it needs to be. Because I've got enough of that going on anyway with work and the rest of it. So
I very much get that from my bonsai trees. And the time I spend with them, because you're growing something that's a forever changing project. You don't have ultimate control over it. And I've never sold one. I've never any intention to. But it's just something I just enjoy doing.
Yeah, well, that's it. So that's what I think I've recognized in all this that could do with some time. But yeah, I like that. This is something I wanted to go on to, and this is, I guess you can kind of bounce off onto that. I was thinking the other day about people's and their vices. So people and things like smoking or drinking, because we spoke about this last week about all the alcohol flying off the shelf.
Yeah.
And we spoke a little bit about drug use and all the rest of it. And then I was thinking to myself, what are my vices? Because in terms of health wise, I'm not into anything like we said, we haven't really done drugs. We don't really drink much. Like, we enjoy a drink from time to time, but I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know if we'd call it a vice. Would you call the amount or the way that me and you would consider drinking a vice?
No, because I think I've got control over it. What is a vice?
Yeah, well, that was kind of what I was going to ask you, because I'm not really sure. I don't think a vice is something that I don't think it's an addiction. Yeah, because I'm not quite clear, and it's not to be like holier than now, I'm a perfect human. I just can't think of what I would say is my vice.
Well, it says as a noun, it's immortality, wrongdoing, wrong, wickedness, badness, evil, blah, 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 blah. But as a second, smoking is my only vice. I think that's what we're referring to. A shortcoming, a failing, a flaw, a fault, a defect, weakness, a weak point, etc.
Right. Interesting.
So yeah, I missed that. What did you say? What's your vice?
Well, I'm not 100% sure what I would think of my vice, but if you're calling it like, what is your weakness, then I definitely have a vice for being too nice to people. And then we've spoke about this a lot, being too quick to say yes and taking too much onto your plate because you don't want to offend anyone or upset anyone, and you look after others before looking after yourself. Yeah. So I don't know if you could count that, but that seems to be, I guess, an emotional vice, because I don't have one such as smoking or anything like that. I enjoy a cigar once a year, and I don't know why, but again, I don't think if you do it once a year, it counts.
Yeah.
So you have a vice?
It's a funny one, actually, because I suppose it comes down to what you determine as a wrongdoing. It's all objective, isn't it? Because I think this conversation about a vice is something that you're guilty of. You feel guilty of doing. You don't feel that you should be doing, kind of thing. Or is it a little bit more along the lines of it is a guilty pleasure? Okay, it's what you can be like Bruce. I can get him to do something because I give him his treat. His treat is Bruce is our German Shepherd, not one of my children. Give him a treat. That's like his vice, you know. Do we mean it from that point of view? Because yeah, it's interesting that I haven't really properly thought
Because
about
so
that.
my mum and dad smoked for, you know, the best part of half their lives, and I could definitely look at it and say that's their vice, because it was basically uncontrollable. Everyone knows it's not good for you. There's no real benefit to doing it. It's a vice. I get that. So and then when you try and, you know, you try and put it onto you. I'm like, what have I got that's the equivalent to that? And I think it would be more of a character thing or a behavior thing, where it's like you do it and you know you're not meant to do it, and you tell yourself, I'm not going to do that again. Like, here's a good example. When people say, we for anyone who doesn't know, we run martial arts schools, and occasionally someone can't pay for something or something needs to be pushed back, and I've always said in my head, we don't do it for free. It is a job. I will always take payment. But every now and then, I can't control it. I'll say, don't worry about that payment, or don't worry about that fiver. Don't worry about whatever it is, and I'll let it go. But then later on in the day, I'll come back to it in my own mind and be like, why did I do that? I didn't need to do that. We could have made an arrangement. I didn't need to say, just don't pay me. But it's just in there. And I think that's what I would consider my vice.
But like, I could turn around and say, for instance, ice cream is a bit of a vice because I like ice cream, not to an excessive degree or whatever, but I like ice cream. But at the same time, like your thing you just said about being too nice, it's also a positive thing, and also ice cream could be a comforting thing, couldn't it?
Yeah,
I
but
think,
you know, people who smoke would say that it's what calms them down, and
yeah.
it's where they get their little moment of solitude and peace. So I get it from that point. If you're doing anything, it's for pleasure, I assume, to a certain extent, whether it's got, you know, repercussions or not down the line. Because, you know, the action of smoking and drinking alcohol at the time, it doesn't cause you any physical pain. We just know from science that it damages you in the long run, I guess. The same way if you ate a ton of ice cream.
When I was younger, training was a vice at times because I didn't understand overtraining and understand training with an injury. Like, for instance, Cece, she's injured her hip slightly, like she's pulled something on her lower back hip. And yesterday, you know, she wasn't putting it on, she just couldn't bounce. It was that bad. And I've turned around and said, look, have 2 days off minimum. You know, you don't go for a walk, you don't run, you're just going to put Tiger Balm on, hot water bottle, cold, and you're just going to rest it. But back when probably I was her age and probably a bit older, I would keep on training because I felt I had to train, otherwise I'd be falling behind. Whereas I realised that curve goes that way, and then you end up further from that point. Whereas if you take a few days rest, you then get back up to that point a lot quicker. So that used to be a vice, but I would say I'm a bit more wise to that now. I think a real vice I have is sleeping or laying in bed, because I really enjoy sleeping and laying in bed. I just enjoy it. I wouldn't do enough of it at the moment. And if it was written anywhere, what's your hobbies? I'd write down sleeping. I'm really good at it. I think in a previous life, I must have been a lion or something, with a male rather lion, because they say the male like sleeps 23 hours of a day and gets up to like eat, mate, or, you know, go for a piss, and that's about it. But so yeah, I like to sleep, and it becomes a vice when you don't get up and you're like, oh damn man, I should have been up a few hours ago and doing this or doing that. You know, I can go quite happily days without a lot of sleep, as you know you do with your, not to your degree, but with your insomnia. But yeah, I would say that's a vice for me.
Yeah, I think that kind of clarifies it a bit more, that it's something that when it starts affecting other areas of your life, or it could affect other areas of your life, but you still would do it. You'd still, you know, you'd still have the sleep, even though you know it's probably not the most productive or useful thing to be doing. You'd still have the cigarette, even though you know it's probably going to give you cancer down the line, whatever it might be. Yeah. Well, yeah, then it's definitely that with the nice thing, because I do it knowing that some people are taking advantage, and I do it knowing that I don't need to do it because they're not going to someone's not going to think less of me or leave my business or anything like that just because I've not been quote unquote nice to them. But I still do it. It's just.
I don't know if my sense of humour is a little bit of advice, because I like winding people up. It's a trait. It's a trait that Cece's got there, and Cece's got mannerisms that are exactly the same as my nan, my dad's mum, and she was a complete wind-up as well. Not constantly, not a comedian or anything, but would go out of her way to wind you up for a pleasure, but to a degree where it could almost be borderline bullying and to harm as well.
Yeah. I can see how people would take it. Whenever we go to international tournaments, I can see the new people who are there for the first time who are struggling to comprehend what's going on between like the likes of me, you, Sean, stuff like that. We've got a couple of guys where it gets silly and sometimes it gets real silly and sometimes, like you said, it gets flat out just bad. And you can tell the people who are not used to being around it because they're not quite sure how to take it, whether or not to laugh, whether or not to cry. Yeah, I get that. I didn't know you consider that like a vice. Would you say that you just can't help it?
Yeah, completely. Well, I can remember when, again, must have been about Cece's age, Paul Chapman, if in anything he came into this, he was round, there was a group of us that used to travel and compete a lot, and we'd quite often stay around each other's houses the night before tournaments, and he had this big mushroom hair. I think it was that particular week we were training, and every now and then you get a Madden, well, we've got a lot of mad ones anyway, but you have a real nutter come in to the dojo, into training. Probably no intention of ever training. This woman, like, she must be, just heading back after a few drinks or for a few more. She walked right up to him and went, "Are you a girl?" So we decided because of his hair. So we decided, Shiab and I decided we should shave his head. So you've got to think he's mushroom hair, like 15-year-old, and he willingly did it because he knew he'd get like beaten if he didn't, and we shaved his hair off. Well, first of all, we like inscripted things in the back of his head. We left like his fringe on and like tufts out here, and we just did it in stages. And I can remember we zipped him up in a bag and everything. He didn't go to school for 3 weeks afterwards because he was bald, and it's like that, looking back, that was like, we were kids, we didn't really know, did we? But yeah, that's a vice because I had no control over that.
Interesting. Yeah, I like it. I love the idea of him not going to school for 3 weeks because he was bald.
Yeah, it was back when you wouldn't have bald head, would you? So
yeah. Go on.
Interesting. Right. Changing the subject then. I don't know why I wrote this down. I think because we found out a couple of things about each other, which maybe we haven't had the opportunity, like our religious faith and everything. I've written down, what are you scared of?
Oh, that's a deep question there. You're going down some of that. So I used to have quite crippling arachnophobia. So I just had a fear of spiders. And I really didn't like that I had it. So I went out and bought a tarantula. So I had a pet spider for about 2 years, and I used it to just use exposure therapy, basically, to get rid of my fear of spiders. So there was that.
That was successful, wasn't it?
It was successful to the extent that I had no fear of that spider in particular. I would hold it, it would climb on me, it bit me once, it was never an issue. But like, if a spider was in a place where I didn't expect it, maybe this is just a normal behavior to a thing being where they're not. If a spider just came out of nowhere, yeah, I know, I'm asking for trouble. I'd probably have a little jump and then I'd be all right. Again, like I remove them from the house now, it's not a problem. But that was one, not anymore. Other than that, I had a big fear of dying for a real long time, and just a general fear of death. Not like fear. That's a tricky one. Not a fear of dying, but a fear of death. If you understand what I mean by the difference of that.
Yeah.
Not the experience of dying, but
no.
what would be coming in death and what death would mean for me.
So not
and
getting
for
run
others.
over, or not like, oh, I'm not going to touch a germ or something like that, but the actual finality of
and
mortality.
I could get myself
Is it
worked
mortality?
up with it. I get mortality. I'd get worked up with it, where I'd create a scenario in my own head. I'd go, if tomorrow I got hit by a car and I'd be dead, and then people would not know, and then at some point my mum would find out, and I'd go through the whole process as if I'd actually died, and I'm sitting now watching how people are going through it and getting a bit upset that my mum's getting upset that I've died, but I haven't actually died. I'm a bit over it now, but it was a thing for a while where I just got in a habit of thinking about it. Normally at night, because I'd not sleep, and this is where my mind would go. And you just think about death for ages and go, that's a scary ass thing, the end of it all. But I guess in doing so, I kind of came to terms with it all, and it doesn't bother me so much now.
But you don't fear anything else?
Nothing that I'd consciously, there's nothing I avoid because I'm scared of it. If that makes sense. There's nothing in particular I'm like, oh, don't bring that near me, because that scares me. Because that's when I think of fear, people say, oh, I don't like snakes. Then that means they're never gonna put themselves around snakes. And if a snake came on TV, they'd cover their eyes, they'd look away for it. So I don't have anything like that. You have a fear? I've never known you to have a fear.
I remembered why I wrote this down. I was speaking to Guy, actually. He said he was listening to the podcast, and the Hamilton family, if the world, I've said it before, if the world had more Hamilton's families, it'd be a better place. They're really, really lovely people. And Guy said at the start of all of this, like, we were talking, and he was a little bit unsettled with, we were just talking through things as we all were with what was happening in that. And he said he's got no fear of dying or anything at all. His only fear he has is not providing. Not being able to provide for his family, and that really struck me. And I suppose I don't fear that, because I've always got faith that I will be able to do something. I've always got faith that with my hands I could do something. I could go and dig holes for someone if I had to provide. So never fear that. I went and saw a homeopath years ago, actually, and they asked similar questions. And one of the questions, what was it? It was not a vice. It was like a negative trait or something like that. And I won't go off on the tangent. We'll maybe go to that another time. But they asked what your fear is, and it really stopped me for a minute, because I think I can handle fear quite well. I'm not afraid, not to confront people, but say things when they should be said, to do things when they need to be done. I will put myself quite easily in harm's way to help others and those kinds of things. I don't have those kind of fears. I'm not scared of anything of like a spider or anything that would be big to eat you, or that if it ate me, then it was meant to be kind of thing. I think that's how I do it. But the only fear I think I have is not having lived. That's what I wrote down when I saw this homeopath. I fear not having lived. I fear getting to the end of this life, be it tomorrow, 50 years time, and look back on and say I coulda, shoulda, or woulda at any moment. And at times I think that's a crutch, because it makes you morally question a lot of things at times, because it might be morally wrong to do it or something like that, but you fear not having lived. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, completely. Well, I think it's also a very useful quality to have, because to fear that will mean that you'll work against it, and you'll make sure that you do the things that you want to do in life and experience the things you want to experience. Because I think without that feeling in you, that's sometimes you see people and you just think, you think you're going to live forever. Like you act like you've got all the time in the world. It's like, we're not here forever, and we don't really know what's on the other side. We all have our faith and our beliefs and what we think is there, but you don't know. So you can't waste this time while you have it, because it's finite, and it's what makes everything valuable, isn't it? It's everything is worth more because we don't have it forever. Everything ends one day, including ourselves, and even this planet is going to not be here one day. So that, it's the ultimate motivator at the same time. And I think that's what I mean when I say I can't think of a fear I have, because there's times I've been afraid, I've felt fear, and I'm sure I'll feel fear again, but it's you don't run from it. You're going to face it. You're going to find a way of dealing with the fear. There's a difference between being crippled by it and, dealing with it.
Yeah, it's the anagram of fear as well, isn't it? It's forget everything and run. That's what most people do in a fearful situation, or it's face everything and rise. And, that's really what I teach. Like next week, we've got a self-defense week, and I will teach that as the self-defensing. We're teaching you to stand there and protect yourself, not just run away. Though running away is a good thing, but don't run into traffic and get run over kind of thing. It's, there needs to be, situation to that. I know when my dad passed, my dad was my hero, and when he passed, a lot of people turned around and said, my God, he had lived, didn't he? He'd gone and got the T-shirt, sent the postcard and everything else. And I can remember we were driving around London once, and someone turned to me and said, was your dad a black cab driver? And it's like, no. And they're like, he just seems to know everywhere. And he was like that with everything. Like there wasn't a thing I couldn't turn to and say, Dad, how do I solve this? How do I do that? And I think a lot of things, being a parent now, he blagged for a degree. Like I'll turn around and say, how do I do that? And he'd say, or he'd go and find out for us. He was a very useful man in that sense. Like this week, I'll bring it up because this week it marks like 8 years since his passing, and I don't mark dates. I know some people are very like birthdays, they mark death days and things like that. I don't do that. Like I can't remember exactly which day it was, but I know it was the end of April, and you can't help but think about it. But yeah, I can remember at his funeral, people turning around and saying, and he lived, with all the photos we had of him with his different cars and his art, all the different places he'd been in that. And I can remember thinking, I've got to make sure that come out of this life, having been there. And Laura and I got a little bit of a joke going at the moment. Anything that comes up, I'll be like, oh yeah, I did that with my dad, kind of thing. It's a little bit of a silly joke. Oh, we're watching something about the military in Afghanistan. It was like, oh yeah, I was there with Dad, kind of thing. So.
Well, your dad, just sticking on his topic, because he always comes up, like you said, around this time of year. That was his biggest influence on me, beyond everything else in terms of martial arts and everything. But his biggest influence was he always just seemed to do what he wanted to do. He was just always doing what he wanted to do. He lived his life according to his own way,
rules.
His own rules, and it was such a mind-blowing thing for me at that age, because I was going through things with trying to figure out what direction I wanted to take my life in. And to see someone who was he just did exactly what he wanted to do. Wanted to sell paintings, he sold paintings. He wanted to teach martial arts, he taught martial arts. Whatever he wanted. He wanted to go and raise baby wolves, he went and raised baby wolves. There was just there was obstacles, but there was no barriers. He always just found a way to get it done. And it was just very, it was just such a good trait to have. And it was something great to watch, because it made you think, yeah, that's what life's about. Because although we can say your dad passed earlier than, what we traditionally would say is a full life, like you said, you can't say that he didn't live a full life. And it's like he just did everything on his terms. And that way it just kind of like, you don't, there's some sadness with him not being here, not, to hang on it too long. But he lived a good life. And that's, that's all you ever want for anyone, including yourself. Like you said, you just want to make sure that when you do look back on it, if you get the chance to look back on it, that you can say, yeah, I lived the life.
Yeah, I've got a thing when I get into this kind of conversation, because I do really enjoy the conversation. Like you said, I don't want to hang on it too much, but I actually really enjoy it because I'm over the stage of getting upset about it. And well, not over, you never get over it, but I'm in control of that stage of getting upset about it, shall I say. Like, this has been the best year I've had dealing with it because he was, my best mate as well as my dad and everything else. To lose such a person in the back of my mum and everything else surrounding it, yeah, I think I like to think, we're going back to like the fear thing and everything else, is I've got a belief that when you pass, life flashes before your eyes, and I've got a thing I call moments of clarity. So I don't know if you, again, I didn't have this written down, but it's cool how conversation gets into the different taste of soul food. I don't know if you have it, where it's almost like life stops still for a moment and you look around and it's like, you're alive. And I called out, like, right now is a moment of clarity. I know at this very moment from this conversation, it can be just something really silly. You could just be playing like you do every day at home with the kids or something, but you just notice that you're alive. And I find it very enlightening, very uplifting. And I call those moments of clarity. It's like, yeah, I am actually alive, and I'm breathing, I'm being, I'm a human doing. And yeah, my thought is I'm going to have so many moments of clarity. They're going to flip through like a reel of like photos at the end. That old Grim Reaper's going to fall asleep. It's going to be. I'm pretty sure I've seen it from a scene for a movie or something, and they just get up and walk off from Grim Reaper. That's my kind of. My place where I'd like to be come to the end of it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That is what it is all about, isn't it? Because people always ask and want to talk about what's the meaning of life and what are we all here for. And I think that's what it is. It's just to find what makes you happy and find a way to do it all the time. And when it changes, change and do what makes you happy then. And just we're not here to hurt anyone or upset anyone or do any damage with it. But if you can if everyone just does what they feel they're meant to do, I think the world would just be a much better place.
Jesus, no, I'm Brian. Is this tagging you at all? Do you get me?
This is I watched that film like the other week, and it's just such a good film.
Yeah, I'm going to stop the conversation there because I've got more things to talk about, but I want to just stop on that. It's always look on the bright side of life. Do.
Which I think is telling to what's going on in the world right now, and that's what people should focus on.
Yeah, for sure.
Boom, dude.
Peace out, dude. Have a good week.
Pleasure, my
rest
man.
of it, and we'll catch up. Well, what's going on? We'll catch up soon, won't we? Probably before the next one of these.
Sounds good. Thanks for listening, guys.
See you later.